Welcome to the Diabetes Podcast, where real stories meet real science, helping you take charge, not just take medicine. Today we're sharing a powerful success story that's honest, raw, and incredibly hopeful. Our guest is Cheryl Coleman, mother, grandmother, lifelong caregiver, and someone who's spent nearly 2 decades living with uncontrolled diabetes. Cheryl takes us from "I felt fine" and an A1C of 18 through years of complications, neuropathy, infections, vision changes, even a stroke alert, to the mindset shift that changed everything. With the right tools, including an insulin pump, advocacy from her care team, and a new commitment to self-care, Cheryl brought her A1C down to 6.6 and started healing inside and out. If you ever put yourself last, felt overwhelmed by diabetes, or thought change wasn't possible, this conversation is for you. Let's go. Hello and welcome to the Diabetes Podcast. I'm Richie.
And I'm Amber.
And Amber, today really excited. We got a success story. Today we're talking to Cheryl Coleman. Cheryl, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Awesome. So Cheryl, when we were talking, I found your story so compelling, especially the way that you decided that you were going to be in control of diabetes instead of diabetes having control over you. But before we talk about diabetes specifically, tell us about you and who you are, what your life looks like, what's important to you, what matters, and if someone met you 5 years ago, how you would have described your health.
Sure. My name is Cheryl Coleman. I am 64 years young. I have 3 kids and 5 grandchildren. I work for a behavioral health facility, and pretty much I just am a homebody. I can honestly say that. And if somebody would have met me 5 years ago, they were like, "You in danger, girl." Just like, because my diabetes was totally out of control, and it has been out of control for the last 20 years, maybe 17, 20 years.
Goodness.
And I was on a spiral down until I decided, you know what, I'm not ready to go yet. I have things I still need to do. So I decided to take control of that. Even though I'm from New Orleans, I love to eat. I had to start realizing you can't eat like you used to eat before, and you need to make some adjustments, or my body was actually telling me that things were going downhill.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So when you were first told you had prediabetes or diabetes, I'm curious, like, which came first, if you were ever told prediabetes before diabetes,
No,
and then
I was not. It was
Got you.
literally, you have diabetes.
Got you. I was just curious what that word meant to you when you heard it.
Nothing. It meant absolutely nothing. It was like, okay, I felt fine. So, but I was losing a lot of weight and wasn't trying. I literally lost 139 pounds. And I'm like, I'm not complaining. I'm losing weight. You know, it was
This
not a
is
big
not
deal.
so bad.
No, I'll take it. And what happened, I used to work for a research and development facility in Gainesville. And the physician that we were working with saw me and he said, "Something's wrong." And I was like, "No." He's like, you're getting too skinny. So him being a type 1 diabetic, he saw some signs that I just didn't. It was excessive thirst. I wasn't tired. I didn't have like your normal, typical signs of it, but the rapid weight loss, then in essence, I went to work, did my job, but I was, I guess you could say, a little exhausted or a little more hyper than I probably should have been. So he took me to his office because he was a type 1. He said, "Let me take your blood sugar right quick." So he used his meter and he took my blood sugar, and when it beeped, he looked at me and then showed me the meter. He said, "Do you know what this is?" I said, "I don't know, H1." And he said, "No, not H1. It is high. Your blood sugar is so high, it can't record the numbers."
Wow.
So In essence, he gave me two choices. He says, I can take you to the hospital right now, or you can make an appointment with your doctor. Okay, I didn't see the sense of urgency for it. So I said, I'll just see my doctor. I'll make an appointment and see my doctor. But I'm going to tell him you said for me to do it. So what I
Mm.
did was I did keep my word. And again, no sense of urgency, but I did keep my word. And I went to the doctor. So she decided to run your normal labs. And I hadn't heard from her in like 2 weeks. So I just figured everything was okay. Yeah, we cool. If it
Mm.
was something urgent, then she probably would have called me back into the office. Well, 2 weeks later, she did. And when I went in, she said, uh, well, you're diabetic. And I said, oh, am I? And again, I had no concern because I didn't feel any particular way. So she says, yes. So she told me, she said, your A1C is 18.
Good
And
gravy.
again,
Can I
that
check
meant
in? Can I catch up a little bit? Was that the first time you were ever told you had diabetes, or that's the first time you listened? I'm just curious.
that was the first time I had ever heard it
Okay,
because
got
I
it.
would not want to go to the doctor. I felt
Okay.
fine, so there was no reason for me to go to the doctor. I would go to, let's say, a drugstore every year and get a flu shot. That was about the extent of my medical care because I'm like a lot of moms around here. When you're not feeling well or whatever, you just dust it off because you got everybody else to take care of. So if my kids or if my grandkids had the sniffles, it's the first time, we need to make a doctor's appointment. But if it was me myself, yeah, I got to keep it moving. I have bills to pay and I have things to do. So life literally was just getting in the way of me saying, you know what, you need to slow down and start taking care of some of your things. And when she told me that I had that high A1C, it meant nothing to me. I didn't know what A1C was or anything else. And I'm thinking, okay, they're going to give me a pill and I'll be fine. So
Wow.
then it was like, no, you need to make some adjustments because this is way too high. And the reason it took so long for them to get your results back because they had never seen it that high. So they thought they made a mistake and they kept retesting. And after the third time, it was confirmed the A1C was 18 and something needed to be done. So I was provided or given a prescription for metformin. That was the only
Wow.
intervention I had was metformin. That was it. And needless to say, like most people, you get on metformin and you got the runs. Then
Mm-hmm.
that was pretty
You
much, I was miserable taking metformin, but I took it
so
for years.
so even though you had diarrhea and were miserable, you continued taking it? You didn't stop? Because a lot of people do stop taking it and then
No,
they're
I
right
I
back in
didn't
the
stop
same.
because my doctor basically said, "This is what you need to continue to take."
Mhm.
So that's
Right.
what I continued to take, but I was miserable on it. And just so happened the healthcare work, the healthcare agency, I should say, I went to, it was a family clinic. The doctor who was initially treating me left, so I was assigned somebody new. And then when she realized that metformin wasn't working, I wasn't taking pricking my finger on the regular like I should have. I may pricked it every morning. I hated doing it, so I just didn't. And again, because I felt fine, I didn't feel bad. So if I don't feel bad, then that means everything is hunky dory.
Right.
So um,
And Cheryl,
I would have to.
I'm just gonna say for listeners who aren't aware, I think most of our audience would be aware that an A1C of 18 can rarely be treated by metformin alone effectively. Um, very rarely, and it would require quick follow up. So I'm curious, when you had the GI distress from the metformin, did you not follow up with your healthcare provider just because of the habit of not really going to the provider?
Correct.
Okay,
That is
got
correct.
it. Got it.
So, they told me to take the metformin, I'd get my prescription filled, but then I became really miserable
Mm,
with the constant diarrhea because originally I was told once your body gets used to it, that feeling will go away.
mm.
It did not. It did not go away at all. And then one of the you have outside influences telling you, oh, metformin is not good for African Americans. You shouldn't even be taking that at all. And I'm like, well, that's what my doctor prescribed. So that's what they prescribe. So therefore, that's what I'm going to take. So finally, I said something because I was having to see them every 3 months. It wasn't like it was consistent, I guess, every 90 days for me to have my blood drawn and get what my kidneys were doing, what my liver was doing, and all of that. And the kidneys were fine. She would give me the report, your kidneys are perfect, your liver's fine, you have a little high cholesterol, so we're gonna put you on. I can't remember what it was that they put me on, but it was something to control the cholesterol.
Probably
And
some kind of
the
statin.
feedback was, your cholesterol is probably high because you're on the metformin. So it's like, okay, then why am I still on the metformin if this is starting to affect other things? And I just hated taking it. So they switched me to something else finally. And I don't even remember what it was. I think it was Januvia. And that
It could have
seemed to,
been, yeah.
yeah, I think that's what it was. And it definitely eliminated the diarrhea. And it was a little bit better with health. I will never say it controlled my diabetes or high blood sugar because my numbers, my A1C stayed up in the range for 15 years. But literally 15 years, I could not get it below 9.
You
So
couldn't
other
get your
things started.
A1C below 9 for
Correct. Could
15
not get the
years.
A1C below 9. It stayed at between 12 and 11. Of course, I was thrilled with that because of the fact was so high at the beginning.
So
And my
relative
daughter's a
to the
nurse.
18, that felt
Correct. So I'm like,
totally, I
well,
was like, I was 18, now I'm
I'm going
12.
there. Yeah, I'm
Ah,
doing something
wow.
here. But my daughter's a nurse.
Mm.
And, you know, she did her nurse thing and this is not normal and you should be doing this and you should be doing. I'm like, I'm mom, you're not. I
Mm.
feel fine. And that's what I always fell back on. Well, I feel fine. Her comment to me at that point was, that's why it's considered a silent killer.
Mm.
Plain and simple. Did I take it seriously or did I take her statement seriously? Nope. However,
I'm curious,
within
did she ever, sorry to interrupt, did she ever
Mhm.
share with
No,
you her reasons for becoming a nurse? Because I'm thinking you might have been part of the
no, my
reason.
sister's a nurse. My
Okay.
sister's a nurse, so and that's her godmother. So she always figured I want to be a nurse, and I'm thinking, well, your personality, that's not going to happen. You have no bedside manner. But she's a fantastic nurse. And, she would tell me the clinical this, that, and the third. But I didn't pay attention to that because I'm going to keep on falling back. I felt fine. So
And you were the
therefore,
parent. Was that also
exactly.
part of it?
And I said, and sometimes I would say, yes, mom, just to get her to shut up.
Mm.
I didn't want to hear it because I like to eat what I like to eat. So I did not alter my eating habits at all.
Okay, can we
If
dive into there for just a second?
Sure.
Because your experience is one that I hear a lot. Like, it is a very, very common experience, which is why I wanted you to really talk about it because I'm sure people are listening saying, yes, I've been there or I'm still there. So tell me a little more about the mindset, if you can. Maybe it's too far removed. I don't know. But you keep saying you felt fine and you were from New Orleans, which was part of it.
Yeah.
But also, did you, was it really truly that you had no idea about diabetes or just that you didn't want to know more?
All right. It's not that I didn't want to know more. I just never thought about it. I wasn't interested in it. I mainly it was okay. Do I choose not eating something that I like and just make myself miserable? And it was more. I would say it would be more a mindset because I liked and enjoyed food. So therefore, yeah, they're saying my numbers are high and all of that, but I'm not feeling any effects of that. So I'm going to continue to do what I'm doing
Mm.
until the day that I did. Not really felt the effects. My body felt the effects of what was going on with me because it was a constant. Let's just say my blood sugar when I would test, and I was not a consistent tester.
Right, 'cause it was always
When I
high. I think a
it
lot of
was
people that aren't consistent testers, they're like, "Why? It doesn't matter. I'm always high.
exactly
Why would I test?" Mhm.
exactly, and my high was in the 400s
Mm.
every single time I would take it. And again, I might have taken it instead of 2, 3 times a day like I should have because I hated pricking my finger. I really hated it because literally the first time I had to do it on my own, I kept telling myself, wait, because I didn't know what it was going to feel like. I mean, eventually my fingers got the neuropathy, so I didn't
Mm.
feel it anymore. So it was nothing to it. It was like numb, tingling feeling all the time. So I would start doing it more often, but it was still in the 400s.
Mm.
So
And
finally, after
I'm just gonna
years,
add a little
Mhm.
aside to that is a lot of times when people are taught to prick their finger, they're not taught to prick their finger, or they're taught to do it on the pads of the finger, which are the most sensitive until, like you said, you have neuropathy. But
Yeah,
really, you could do the side of the finger where you're a little more calloused and it's significantly less painful, and especially less painful later on in your day when that finger is still sore and you type on a keyboard or play the piano or what have you. It's really painful on the pads, but you could use the
yes,
sides. I think that's not taught enough.
yeah.
So
And
I
I,
just wanted
I
to put in there.
learned a couple of years later when I went to my doctor and I happened to mention, and of course your doctor is not a soothsayer or a psychic or anything, so they only know what you tell them.
Mm,
I
mhm,
happened to mention it, oh my God, I hate doing this because my fingers are just so sore, and I'm in administration. I type a lot. So it became so she was like, well, how are you doing it? Because nobody actually showed me how to use the lance and how to do the strips and everything. It was just
mhm,
something like, YouTube is a wonderful thing.
mhm.
So that's how I learned how to prick my finger on the side. But I happened to mention it to my doctor, and she said, "Oh, you're not supposed to do it like that. You're supposed to prick towards the side of your finger. You would probably get more of a blood. I don't know to use on with your lance it on the side, and then use your strip just on that side there." And it's like, oh, okay. But it had been years in the making. And again, it's because I never said anything. So if I don't say it, she's not going to.
And you don't know what you don't know. Like if that was how you were taught initially or how you saw the nurses do it in the hospital or where have you, that's what you learned.
Exactly. Exactly. And um, finally, she wanted to set me up with a nutritionist and how to eat properly and all of that. That darn insurance would not approve it. And
Mm.
I did not have $1,200 out of pocket to go to a nutritionist. So therefore, I skipped that part of treatment or advice or anything else, and still ate what I wanted to eat because I just assumed and in my mind figured, whatever I eat, that's fine because I was finally put on insulin.
Mm.
But I had to inject myself every day. I didn't, I knew how to do the injections and all because it was a brief lessons on doing the injections, but I was never told until you that I should take insulin at least 30 minutes, 15 to 30 minutes before a meal. I was taking it, I always took it after I ate because I figured whatever I put in my body, it's going to counteract. The insulin is going to counteract what I just ate. So even if I ate a cupcake or a steak and potatoes or something like that, I would not do my injections until after. I ate, and I wasn't taking my blood sugar at that time.
And
So,
that's another common thing too, and that has to do with this sliding scale insulin, which has been in practice for, I mean, decades upon decades, and it's considered one of the safer ways to give insulin because you're catching up to the past instead of being proactive. So
correct.
you're given this scale. If your sugar is 150 to 200, take 1 to 2 units. If it's 201 to 250, and we have another episode where we talk about that sliding scale is playing catch up rather than being proactive
I
with
wasn't
15 to 20
using
minutes
any
before a
sliding
meal.
scale. I
Wow.
didn't use a sliding scale at all. I just, because it wasn't, if your blood sugar is this, take this amount. If your blood sugar is that, take this amount. Even on my prescription itself, 18 units with meals was
Mhm.
the instruction. So that's what I did. I took the 18 units, and because of the fact I wasn't, my eating habit was erratic. So I may not eat breakfast that morning, so I wouldn't take it. But when I would get up in the morning and I took my blood sugar, it's like 300, and I didn't understand that. I say, how can it be 300 and I haven't eaten anything?
Mhm.
My mind concept was eat first, inject later, because I was never told any different. And I was relying on my prescription itself. What it said on my instructions on the thing, 18 units.
Yeah.
And my daughter is the one who told me I can have a 400-pound patient and we wouldn't give them 18 units. That is way too much. And you're supposed to do. So I was learning more from my daughter than I was from my healthcare providers. And, nowadays, 15 minutes is pretty much all you get. So I didn't ask because I figured they're the doctor, they know exactly what they're doing. But my thought of a sliding scale was not a thought because I didn't know till I talked
Yeah.
to you.
Yeah,
It-
and 18 units might not be enough for some people, believe it or
Yeah,
not, even if they don't eat. It all has to do with insulin resistance and how much resistance there is and how much insulin your pancreas still makes. There was someone once that I used to counsel that took 50 units of insulin, rapid acting, um, before a dinner of steak and salad, which has no carbs, and would not have a low blood sugar from that at all, which is pretty incredible. 50 units of rapid, not long acting. So it really depends on the person, and it's just probably the best thing that your healthcare provider could do at that time, you know? No
yeah,
judgment. It was like, just put it a set dose so then we know you're getting a certain amount of insulin, is usually the thought
right.
behind that. Wow.
But
Wow.
every 90 days, my A1C was not getting below 9.
Mm.
And maybe 3 years ago, I was diagnosed with cataracts. So the my eye surgeon refused to do any type of intervention with cataracts until my blood sugar was below 9. He
This is
said because it's
another
too much of a risk.
Yes, and that's another important point because a lot of people are in your situation where they have cataracts or they have some other surgery that they need done. And the surgeons are like, I'm not touching somebody whose A1C is 9 or 10 with a 10-foot pole
Right.
because they know these surgical outcomes are very,
The
very
risk of
poor.
infection was great.
Yes. Yes. And this does motivate a lot of people to do something different.
That wasn't a motivator for me.
That wasn't it. Okay, let's keep going till we find it. Okay.
So my motivation is, as I said, I had neuropathy. So I had both. Well, I still have it, as a matter of fact, in my feet and my hands. So the neuropathy started, of course, at the toes and the foot itself, but it spread up from right below my knee to my feet. So it feels like I wear 10 pairs of socks.
Mm.
So one day after I took my injection, I threw my needle away. And I didn't have a sharps container or anything. I just threw it in the trash, or at least I thought I did. Well, because of the neuropathy, I stepped on the needle and did not feel it. What happened was my foot started turning weird colors, and I didn't know why. Didn't know why, but I didn't say, I wonder what's going on here. I just threw my socks on and kept it moving. So maybe about 3 weeks, because I didn't even realize I had stepped on the needle at that time either. Maybe 3 weeks after I stepped on it, my foot swelled up so badly I could not put my shoe on. So I took a picture of my foot and sent it to my daughter and my sister, both nurses.
Who had a heart
And
attack when they saw it. I'm just saying.
yes, my sister immediately called me because she still lives in New Orleans. She immediately called me and she asked me, can I send this to my endocrinologist? And then so I said, sure, whatever. So she did, and they both called me back saying that you need to go to the ER immediately. So I'm like, it's like o'clock at night. I'll go tonight. And
of course you said that. Oh,
yeah, I dismissed it. I never really took anything serious when it came to myself,
wow.
unfortunately. But
It's so common, but so mind-boggling at the same time. Yeah.
exactly. So what I did was I did go to the emergency room that night, and the ER doctor looked at it and she's like, I don't know what to do with this. And it was like, it looks like it, at first she said you might have some cellulitis. She didn't know what cellulitis was, but I later found out. So they did an x-ray. So when they did the x-ray, they said that there was a little sliver. They didn't know what it was, and they referred me to an orthopedic surgeon. So the orthopedic surgeon came in the next day, and he said, well, we're going to do a CAT scan and try to determine what's going on here because they see something. They're just not sure what it is. Well, they discovered that it was a needle, and it had worked its way down to the area and was severely infected. I wound up being in the hospital for 9 days. Wasn't expecting that, was just thinking I'm going to the ER and they going to give me a shot of penicillin or something and I could move on my merry way. Well, I was on antibiotic, IV antibiotic for 9 days, which caused me to get E. coli. So this was started being the downfall for me, and that happened 5 years. So it felt like my body literally had started breaking down. Even though I'll have it because me in my mind said I just dismissed it. It's not important. So I wound up having the surgery, and literally before he did the surgery, when he came in my room, he's pressing down on it and all this nasty stuff is just oozing out. And it was obvious it was infection. I did not feel a thing. I felt, and then he said, does that hurt? And I'm like, no. I say, I'm watching you and it's disgusting, but no, it does not hurt at all. So there was no need for any kind of numbing or anything else because the feet were dead, basically. So that's when I realized, okay, something's going. I think I need to sit up and pay attention. Yes, I need to sit up and pay attention. And my toes were turning black, and he's telling me that if they can't get the needle out, then I may be a candidate for amputation.
What was
that
okay?
Scared the bejesus out of me.
Yeah, I want to know really what that felt like for you in that moment.
It was scary because then I'm starting to think, how am I going to do this and how am I going to do that? Because I have an administrative mindset. You tell me what your problem is and I'll fix it and I'll figure out the way. But I never thought about that for myself. I never thought,
interesting.
Okay, you have a problem that you have to fix. I didn't think about, I was always worried about everybody else. Whatever was going on with me was on the back burner. So if my boss was sick, you better get out of here and go to the doctor and all that. I'm the caregiver. I'm always caring for other people. But I never thought or never felt that, I would have to be a caregiver for myself.
Why do you think it Sorry, and you might not
Mhm.
have the answer to this, but I'm always so curious why it is that caregivers seem to have a disconnect between the real fact that in order to care for other people, you have to be in good health and you have to care for yourself. Like you
I never
cannot
thought about it that
get
way.
water from an empty well.
Yeah.
And
Never thought about it that way. I always, always, always would put myself on the back burner. I didn't think about myself. I was thinking about what I can do for others, not thinking about, okay, something's going on with you. I would just push it aside and just do what I do. And I don't know, maybe it was a fear of not being liked by anybody because of the fact that they need you, but not realizing you need you too.
wow.
So I would tend to, what do you need? What do you need? What do you need? So that was like my mantra. What do you need? Let me fix it. Let me fix it. But I never took that consideration on, Cheryl, you need to fix you. You need to pay attention to what's going on with you. And I didn't. I just, I don't know whether it was subconscious or what have you, that I just pushed it in the back. And since 5 years ago, I have been in the hospital maybe 4 times with a state no less than 10, well, 10 days or less. And it was always because of an infection.
Wow.
I would constantly have these infections, and because of my lack of awareness, I guess I would call it, because of that, um, the last wound I wound up having was an unhealed wound on my leg.
Mm.
And couldn't understand what the hell is this. It started out as a blister, and the blister burst and it became very infected. That's when I wound up going in the hospital for that. I had a fever and everything else. And at that time, my A1C was maybe 9.5. So it had gone up. And, I was struggling trying to get it down so I could get the cataract surgery because my vision was getting worse and worse. And it wound up in my right eye, I wound up with diabetic retinopathy.
Okay.
So I have very little vision in my right eye that I've had 3 injections for, which is not pleasant. It is, anybody who's going to go through that, I'm telling you, diabetic retinopathy is not pleasant. It is not
Got it.
pleasant at all. My eyesight on my right eye looks like if you have a glass door of a shower and you just took a hot shower and you have that moisture on the glass and you look through it. That's the way the vision in my right eye is.
Wow.
It's just a wet shower of vision, poor vision. So that's when I started saying, oh crap, something's wrong.
Okay. Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
granted,
Yeah.
I had the infection and stuff and I knew something was
Hmm.
wrong, but I didn't really start paying attention until it started affecting my vision.
Got you. So it was the vision that was the line in the sand for
That was the
you.
line in the sand because I'm like, I
Got
need
it.
my eyes. I gotta see that. I work on the computer a lot, and
Mm.
I have a lot of craft hobbies that I had to constantly use a magnifying glass. That's how bad it had become. Where I was doing, and it was like, Mom, I'm sorry, because I used to laugh at her when she would have her little magnifying glass trying to read things, and then I wound up having to use a magnifying glass to see because the diabetes has affected my eyesight.
Okay. So let's talk about the identity shift because you're a caretaker. You like your hobbies and crafts. Your livelihood depends on your vision. So
Right.
you had that line in the sand. So what started to change? Like, how has your relationship with your body changed and your relationship with controlling your blood sugar, your relationship with your physicians, your relationship with yourself, this caretaker identity versus someone who understands that you have to take care of yourself to be able to give to others?
I've just come to that realization in the last couple of years. It was more or less my illnesses, my constant admission into the hospital for this infection and that infection that said, okay, if you don't do something, you're not going to be here to take care of anybody. So it was the constant medications. And then developed high blood pressure. So with the high blood pressure, as a matter of fact, I guess they call it a TIA or a mini stroke in October. And I went to the ER, and it wasn't because I felt bad, because yet again, I don't really feel bad when things are going on with me. But I had to go to a wound care specialist because of the wound I had on my leg because of the diabetes, and I was being treated. So this was my initial visit with them. And they usually have a nurse who comes in and takes your blood pressure before they start the procedure of debriding and all of that stuff. And this was my very first interaction. And it was 2 hours. It was stressful. And she was like, "Oh, your blood pressure's a little high." It was like 186 over something. And I said, "Okay." And
What does
again,
that mean? Again,
exactly.
yeah.
I don't have a
Mhm.
headache because I heard that when your blood pressure's high, you'll see. Now, I've always had the floaters, so that was no big deal for me. Having something that looked like gnats flying around and you shush them away, and it turns out there's like spots in front of your eyes.
Mhm.
So after the procedure, and because it was the initial one, it took about 2 hours. So typically, when you're finished with the procedure, the discharge nurse will take your blood pressure. So when she took my blood pressure, it was 211 over 140 something, I think it was. So she told me, she said, "You're in stroke territory right now. Your blood pressure is extremely high and you need to go to the ER." Yet again, I keep on reemphasizing this. I didn't feel nothing, I didn't feel bad. I wasn't
Mm.
weirded out or anything like that. So I'm like, okay. So when I left, they made my appointment for me, and she was like, "Okay, see you next week. Good luck with that pressure," was the response. I drove myself to the emergency room. And when I got there, they have now a screen that you type in what your symptoms are and all of that, and you scan your driver's license and all. So when I walked in there was only one other person in there. So I said, "Oh, good. That means they'll take me right away," even though, again, I didn't have nothing. But when I was driving there, I started feeling a little dizzy, and I didn't know whether to attribute that to my anxiety that my blood pressure was high or anything else. But I drove down 200, got to Timber Ridge because that's where I went. I went to Timber Ridge urgent care. Well, not the urgent care, it was the emergency room.
Mhm.
And when I got there, I typed in the little screen, my name and all of that information. And when another screen pops up, tell me what your symptoms are. Well, my vision was so blurry. The only word I could see was dizziness, which at that point I was dizzy. I was literally, I said, if the police would have pulled me over and given me a sobriety test, my gait was so off that they would have probably had me breathing a breathalyzer. And I'm not a drinker. I don't drink at
Yep.
all.
I've
So,
heard
but I was
this
so
a
off, I
lot with
kept on
people with
veering to the
diabetes getting
yeah,
pulled
I
over
was veering
driving,
to the
thinking
left, and it's
something.
like, what's going on here?
Mm.
So when I pressed dizzy on the screen, it had a big stop sign that popped up and said, "Don't go any further. Someone will be with you right away." So the same triage nurse who told me to fill out the thing, she said, "Why didn't you tell me you were dizzy?" I'm like, "I don't know. You didn't ask. You just told me to type in the thing." So that's what I did. She's like, come on. So she took me to the triage room and she took my blood pressure. And this was October 15th of the last year. She took my blood pressure and she said, "Let me try the other arm." So she didn't say anything to me at that time. She just said, "Let me try the other arm." And when she went to the left side and took the blood pressure, still did not say anything to me. The first thing she did was ran out in the hallway and started yelling, "Stroke alert." So the next thing I know, they have like 8 people in triage with me. And I'm like,
Let's talk about what that feels for you. You're just getting your blood pressure and you see the nurses freaking out.
yeah,
What is that like for you?
there was no sense of urgency for me.
Whoa.
Because literally, I'm looking around, all of these people, these 8 people coming in the room and all of that. And they got somebody with a wheelchair. And I'm looking around, who in the hell are they here for? And even though I was the only patient in the room, my thought process was, who are they here for? Because then the realization hit that all of this commotion is for me. So I have one nurse on the left arm and another nurse on the right arm, and they both sticking me with IV prep. And then so they started pulling blood from that area and all of that. And then the emergency room doctor came in, had me stand up and walk back and forth. And I literally was walking like somebody who was drunk. I was definitely off kilter. And then he had me do this touch your nose, touch my finger, touch your nose thing, kind of like what they would do at a sobriety thing. So left side had no problem. Touch nose, touch finger, touch nose, touch finger.
The right
Then they
side had
switched
some
me to the right
problems.
side, and I kept missing. And I would say, "Wait a minute, let me do that again," because it was like, "Why is this happening? What is going on here?" So within 10 minutes of me from the time I walked in that door until I was back, I was having a CT scan, and they said that the stroke clot was at the base of my neck is where I felt pressure. I did finally start feeling something funny, and my words I couldn't catch my words. And that's the best way I can explain it is my words were, I knew what I wanted to say, but it wasn't coming out the way it should have. And he said that it was just formulating at the base of my neck and to branch out. And so he was asking, what's your blood sugar? And I said, well, I haven't had my blood sugar taken in a while. Maybe I should back up a little bit. Because my blood sugar was out of control and my A1C was so high, I was finally referred to an endocrinologist. And when the endocrinologist did his thing, he said, what have you ever thought about the pump? And I'm like, what's a pump? So he, gave me the little mini lesson, showed me 2 options that I had. And he says, of course, it's dependent on the insurance company and what they're going to do or what they'll approve. And I said, oh, well, a previous doctor I had tried to get me a pump and it was declined by the insurance company. And he told me, that's not your worry. Just which one would you prefer? Well, it turned out my insurance company approved the Tandem for me. And so I had been on the Tandem for about a year. And that's what actually brought my A1C down. But I started having all of these other residual side effects because my blood sugar A1C had been so high for so long. It literally had been maybe 17 years that I was operating on a high blood sugar.
Mm-hmm.
Cheryl, I got a question.
Like,
how long since your initial diagnosis did it take for you to get referred to an endo?
A year ago.
That was 19 years, yeah?
Yeah, a year ago. So
it sounds like insurance has not
insurance
been...
had a lot to do with, but with endo, because my primary tried to get me a pump and it was declined. So it was like, oh, well, it's the insurance company. They declined it. So therefore, I'll have to keep doing what I'm doing, even though I had the feeling that I wasn't doing it properly. So I was referred to this particular endo, and I told him, I said, well, a pump was declined. And he said, don't you worry about that. You let me worry about that. I know exactly how to write it. And I was like, okay. The very next day, I got a letter from the insurance company approving it. So I've only been on a pump. It made a year, January 12th, I think. I've been on a pump. And when I say significantly changed, you want to know what my A1C is now?
Yes, tell us.
6.6.
And that's The difference
And that
between the 6.6 A1C and the 9, 10, 11, it's night and day in terms
years,
of
years, and I feel
your,
different.
yeah.
And, it didn't cure the neuropathy or anything. I still have that issue, but everything else is starting to turn around on a more positive path. My wound has healed completely after 2 months of having wound care every week. They discharged me because it's healed completely. So a lot of
Wonderful.
that had to do with the lowering of the A1C and the fact that I literally had 70% blockage in my right leg, 90% blockage in my left leg, and it was all because of diabetes.
Mm.
And I had to have stents put in both legs. But within 2 weeks of having the stent and blood flow to my right leg, the wound literally healed itself.
Yeah, that was, you cannot heal when you're not getting adequate blood flow
Yep.
to a part of your
And because
body.
my blood sugar was high, that's what created the issues with the arteries. Because I was literally, I guess you could say my body was eating itself from inside out. And by the
So,
time the outside showed itself, the inside was already just really screwed up.
yeah. And thank
And
goodness
so,
for that early stroke
yeah,
intervention and,
yeah, because they
here.
gave me the option of the whatever injector, there's something K something. I can't remember the name of it, but it breaks up a clot. And because my daughter is a nurse, she called the hospital and told them not to give it to me because of the fact I had just had room care that morning and she was afraid of significant bleeding. And the ER doctor told her, well, we got two choices. She can have an aneurysm or we can worry about treat the wound. And so she's like, give her the shot, give her the shot.
Mm.
So I did get the shot and I was literally in ICU for 1 day with no residuals because they had caught it so early.
What a difference. What
Yes.
a difference in your hospital stay stories in that.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about the most recent year or the most recent maybe 6 months even. How has your relationship with your body changed?
I'm more aware of the little signs. If something, I've come to this. Well, I'm 64 years old, so I have finally come to the point where I'm listening, I'm feeling,
Mm.
I'm saying, okay, something's not right, and I'm not resistant to seek medical care for it. Because before I just would have brushed it off and say, oh, it'll pass. And let me go lay down and take a nap. It'll pass. But
Ooh, let me
now
lay down
I
and take
I
a nap.
am listening to the little things that my body, okay, it's like, oh, that's unusual. The first person I will call is my daughter. That's the first one I'll call and say, hey, this is going on. And it's almost like I'm asking for permission, but not asking for permission based on what you think I should do. And
Mm.
sometimes she'll say, Ma, you know what you should be doing. And I was like, yeah, I know. But, so there's still a little resistance, but I'm noticing, I'm paying more attention where I notice if something is off, something has changed with
Yeah.
my body. It's telling me, hey, you better pay attention.
Yeah.
So
And it sounds
I
like you
listen.
know who to go to if you have that subconscious fighting against
She's a,
doing
she's a
something. You
straight
like, let
shooter.
me call my daughter
Yeah.
and she'll set it
She's a
right.
straight
Like,
shooter.
even.
Yeah, I know if I call my sister, who again, she's been a nurse for over 30 years, with her recommendation comes preaching and
Sure.
admonishment because my daughter actually teaches at Rasmussen now, and
Congrats.
she
Yes.
has a case or a story she tells, and she calls me her non-compliant patient. So she never gives my name, but she gives us scenarios of the things that have gone on with me as part of her lessons to pre-nurses. So when I wound up with the stroke in the hospital, a couple of her nursing students who are now nurses. And when they saw her, they're like, "Professor, what are you doing here?" And she told them, "Remember that non-compliant patient I'm telling y'all about?" And then she pointed at me. So, so it was like, "Yeah, this is her." And they were like, "Oh, so you're the one who's not?" I said, "Yes, that is me." Yeah, and I'm like feeling like I'm being preached to with a bunch of youngins. But yes, I definitely defer to her when I might feel a certain way, but I'm not quite sure. And does it really require me to go to the emergency room, or does it
When that
require me to
old
just
you
call
was
my
like,
doctor
"It's
and make an
okay."
appointment? Yeah. So she's usually my sounding board, what I'm feeling. But there was a time I wasn't paying attention to what I was feeling and then just fluffing it off and saying, yeah, yeah, I'll feel better. I just need to go take a nap and I'll feel better.
Okay, so what
And
would you
had I did
say?
that when I had that stroke, I wouldn't have woke. No,
Wow,
plain and
no,
simple.
you wouldn't. Okay, so what would you say to someone who is listening and was in your shoes or is in your shoes now? Like they know what to do, they've just not been able to do it yet. What would your
Get better
advice be?
instincts. I would say get better instincts
But
because
how?
uh, sit with yourself. You have to sit with yourself and you know how you're feeling. And it took me a long time to recognize or acknowledge, you know how you've been feeling all of this way, but you want to be that strong person or you can do it. And um, you can't let that interrupt you. You have to start listening to yourself. You have to start feeling, basically, feeling what you need to feel when you need to feel it. Because if you don't, there may be a day that you go to bed and you don't open your eyes. And that was kind of the scary thing for me, is realizing that I have jacked my body up, basically.
Well, and
And
then you
now
also have an amazing capability to heal, and that you said that with once you had the stents placed, how quickly
2 weeks.
wounds healed. Because I think definitely this is a cautionary tale for sure, but it's also, um, I think that, like you said, with the amount of judgment that can come from your sister and from others sometimes, that judgment and shame are the lowest energetic form, that's not the way to motivate people, that you're
Correct.
more motivated by the fact that you want to be here to care for other people, and that you want to be
Exactly.
able to do the hobbies that you enjoy, and you want to be able to keep your livelihood so that nobody else has to take care of you.
That is
So
correct.
so if you were talking to someone about, like, I'm a cautionary tale, but I want to inspire you, what way would you really think would move the needle the most for that person?
So I did therapy for a couple of years, and my I participate in groups, and my our leader of our therapy sessions would always give us assignments for the following week. And one time, her assignment to us was list all the important people in your life. And then after she said that, I'm in my brain listing my mother, my kids, and this, that, and the third. And she stopped and said, "Oh, by the way, your name better be the first one on that list." And when I say I went into ugly cry, because it did not occur to me to put my name on that list at all, because of the fact I'm used to doing for everybody and not thinking about doing for myself, because I looked at it as selfish. You put on this earth to do this. And when that realization for me was I deserve to be on that list too, was that you have to pay attention to yourself. You're your own calling, basically, is how I could put it. You have to pay attention to you and yourself, and don't think of it as being selfish, because that's the way I looked at it. I looked at it as being selfish. So I've gotten myself out of that mode now, even though, every now and then I get a twinge of, God, you're doing this because you enjoy certain things, and not worrying about what others think. But then you know what? I say that's okay. It's okay because I'm doing for me.
Mm. Yeah, that goes so deep. You can really unravel that to a very early age.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
That was an aha moment for me. That was when it was like, okay, you need to be on your list. You need, and as you said, you can't take care of others if you don't take care of yourself. And that was it it hit hard. It hit hard because then I had to come to terms with the fact that I had been neglecting myself. But it took a long time for me to start really putting myself on that list. So now I'm on the list and I pay attention.
Got it. So, what does taking care of yourself mean for you today versus what that it didn't mean before?
Well, you know what? I don't even really know. I take time for myself because my birthday was December 5th.
Birthday
And
belated.
thank you. But everybody would ask me, well, what you want for your birthday? I said, I want to be Macaulay Culkin, Home Alone. So I like to take time for myself and not have to worry about it, deal with anybody else or cook or do this, that, and third, because sometimes I just don't feel like it. And sometimes it feels like an obligation that I have to do certain things. And I feel guilty if I don't do it. But now, if I don't cook tonight, that's okay. Eat peanut butter and jelly. So
Hmm.
that's the way I think. Like my grandson is 10 and he lives with me, so I try to make sure he has a meal. And now, if I don't feel like it, I don't feel like it. You know what? We'll make a sandwich today. You want cereal? Cook. Yeah, cereal. So I tend to not feel guilty anymore. I've removed the word guilt from my self preservation and oh my God, what are they going to think of me? I don't care anymore. I don't care whether they think I'm being selfish, even though deep down I used to think that I was being selfish for worrying about me. Now I don't care if somebody thinks I'm selfish. I
Yeah,
just do it. Like the Nike side, just do it.
just do it.
But it took a while. It took a long time. But if I would have any advice with anybody is take yourself seriously. You could still be the fun, reliable person that you've always been, but there are sometimes you have to woosah, take a step back and pay attention to yourself.
Absolutely. Cheryl, that is beautiful. Is there
Thank you.
anything else before we close this wonderful journey that we've gone on with you? Is there anything else that you really feel on your heart that you want to share to people at all different stages and places, whether it's their loved one who has diabetes, whether they're just wanting to know more about the experience of people who have diabetes? What would you maybe want to, is there anything that you might want to share you haven't shared yet?
I would have to say, and it took me a long time to come to this realization, I guess I would call it, is if you need help, ask for it. Because people are not psychics. They don't know what's in your mind. And if you don't say, hey, I need help, I'm struggling, I'm doing this, don't feel ashamed to do that. It took me a while to come to that, but I will ask for help if I need it now at this point.
Absolutely.
So don't feel like you're alone and somebody else is not going through it because trust and believe they got people going through the exact same thing you're going through, and it may form itself in different spaces, but it's the same. And when you see that you're not the only one out there and you don't have to do it by yourself, ask for help.
Absolutely, Cheryl. Absolutely. Thank you so much. I am so
You are
thankful
very
that you
welcome.
took your time to share this. Like when we were originally talking, you were like, yes, I want to help other
Absolutely.
people
If
avoid.
other people can learn a lesson from mine, and again, I'm 64 years old. I was in my late 40s when I was diagnosed with diabetes, but it took me to this age, 63, 62, 63, 64, to say, you know what? I need to do something. If I want to continue to walk this earth, then I need to do something about it, because nobody can do it for you. And you have
Absolutely.
to get that mindset that you are the most important person in your life.
That is true. It all comes from self-love. You
Yep,
have to have
absolutely.
this inner
And
love before you
self-care,
can pour it
that's
out
one
to
of my new
others.
words, the self-care portion of it, because you used to look at it as being selfish, but you can't anymore. You have to look at it as having self-care.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Cheryl. We really
You are
appreciate
very
you
welcome.
coming on. Thank you.
Thank you for coming on the Diabetes Podcast.
My pleasure.
We at the Diabetes Podcast would like to say thank you to Cheryl for your courage and candor. Your story is a reminder that progress is possible at any stage. Key takeaways from today's episode are: listen to your body's early whispers. Ask for help. No one can read your mind. And self-care isn't selfish, it's essential. The right tools and timing matter, like pre-meal insulin strategies and, for some, pumps and CGMs. And advocacy can change outcomes, from wound care to eye health to stroke intervention. If Cheryl's journey resonated with you, share this episode with someone who needs encouragement today. And if you enjoyed this episode, please take the time to give it a like and leave a review. This really helps to promote and sustain this free podcast and get the word out to the millions of people worldwide that are struggling with type 2 and prediabetes, letting them know that remission is possible if you take action today. And if you have additional questions or need additional support, take a page from Cheryl's book and ask for help. You can reach us at support@empowereddiabetes.com. Until next time, take courage. You can do this, and we can help.